At the beginning of the film, we learn about Nick Marshall from his ex-wife, who thinks that he could not understand her. The main character's colleague, Anne, thinks that he is incapable of mature relationships and only knows how to seduce ladies. The ex-wife says that in order to understand Nick, you first need to learn about his family. The man's mother was a burlesque dancer, so the boy from childhood was surrounded by half-dressed women and learned to communicate and flirt with them. The action moved to the main character himself. Nick wakes up with a kiss on his cheek and does not want to get out of bed. A man is talking to his housekeeper, whom he calls Babe. The woman is dissatisfied with the fact that Nick once again brought a girl whose underwear is difficult to even see. The character jokes that his mother wore similar underwear and asks Babe to make him breakfast. Going to a coffee shop, Nick seduces one of the visitors and then flirts with the saleswoman. Lola refuses to go on a date with him, but he turns on sympathy and empathy, because of which he still gets consent. Nick gets to work and talks to beautiful women, ignoring the simpler types. A man is sure that today his boss will finally announce his promotion and he will become creative director of the agency. Nick goes to the office where he talks to Dan. The man is sure that advertisements with girls in swimsuits and cars were popular in the 80s. However, now the target audience is becoming more female, and other methods of attracting attention need to be chosen for them. Dan decides to hire a woman named Darcy, who is famous for her hold and advanced ideas, as creative director. An upset, Nick goes to his ex-wife's wedding. A woman goes on a trip with her new husband for 2 weeks and asks Nick to take their daughter, Alexandra, for this time. Nick agrees, then returns for a meeting with the new creative director. Darcy talks about how advertising targeted at women has brought $40 billion for companies. The woman has prepared a different set of goods for each employee, which contains the most essential products for the womankind. Everyone should try to create original and attractive advertising for women. Nick comes home and tries to relax after a hard day. A man turns on some music and dances to get in the mood to come up with an advert. Nick decides to choose one item from the box without looking and pulls out a lipstick. He tries to come up with a creative idea. Nick realizes that almost every option he has is aimed more at a male audience. He decides to test all the items in the box to feel himself as a woman and realize what advantages and disadvantages need to be highlighted. In the bathroom, Nick paints his nails, depilates and puts on tights. At that moment, Alexandra enters the flat with her boyfriend. The girl is amazed by Nick's appearance. When Cameron leaves, Alex quarrels with her father, believing that he doesn't listen to her at all and looks strange. Nick tries to reconcile with his daughter, but accidentally slips and falls into the bathroom. The activated hairdryer falls on him. Due to the electric shock, Nick loses consciousness and falls to the floor. In the morning, the man finally comes to his senses. Nick hears his housekeeper wailing displeased, but she replies that she has not said a word. The character goes out on foot and realizes that he has started to hear the thoughts of women. Nick realizes that most of his colleagues treat him worse than he assumed, and the girls on the street think about everyday life, illnesses, and work, but not about men in any way. In his office, the man searches for a specialist to help him stop hearing thoughts. Nick talks to his friend Morgan and tries to explain what happened to him. The character also hears the thoughts of his assistant, Anne, who is angry that, despite her education, she just has to bring coffee. Nick goes to a meeting with a friend. The man hears the thoughts of an inconspicuous girl, Erin, who is going to take her own life and often thinks about it. At the meeting, Nick talks about his ideas and realizes that women don't really like his vulgarity. The character overhears his colleagues' thoughts and tries to pass them off as an idea, but this proves to be a failure. Nick returns home and sees his daughter with Cameron. The man hears Alex's thoughts and realizes that she doesn't love him and considers him a bad father. Nick wants to get rid of the new superpower. For this, he repeats yesterday evening again and comes out with a hairdryer in the rain. Nick wakes up with a headache again in the morning. The man runs to the women's shop to see if he has got rid of his superpower. Nick still continues to hear the thoughts of women, which pisses him off. In the end, he turns to a psychologist. Nick guesses the number that woman has in mind and convinces her that she can really hear thoughts. The psychologist considers this ability as a gift, not a curse. Now, Nick will be able to answer the big question, what do women want? He decides to take advantage of the opportunities that have opened up for him. Knowing the thoughts of women, Nick flirts with them much easier and gets what he wants. In the office, the man again hears Erin's sad thoughts and helps her with the fallen books. Nick visits Darcy and, listening to her thoughts, learns that Nike is looking for an agency to advertise. The character says that he learned this from his sources and thinks they should seize this opportunity. Nick hears Darcy's idea for a new advert and passes it off as his own. This impresses Dan. He thinks Nick has become more sensible and interesting. Nick continues to impress his boss. A man talks to Darcy about his daughter's graduation, pretending to be a good and caring father. Nick continues to improve his skills in interacting with women. The character becomes a good lover as he hears the thoughts and wishes of his partners. Nick spends a lot of time in places of mass gathering of women and records their key requests. At work, he becomes the soul of the company. He gives his colleagues good advices about men, supports their endeavors, and anticipates questions by listening their minds. All the women come to Nick's complete delight and do not want him to leave. The character also continues to overhear Darcy's creative ideas. Then Nick presents them to the boss as his own, at the expense of which he puts the woman in an unfavorable light. Together with Darcy, Nick develops a concept for an advert for Nike. Nick refines the woman's idea, which she does not voice, considering it unsuccessful. Together they manage to come up with a good slogan. The character hears Darcy's thoughts about himself and realizes that the woman begins to interest him more and more. However, Nick does not think only about quick pleasure. He is interested in the real Darcy, whom she is still hiding from others. He continues to flirt with the woman and offers to work on an advert for Nike again the next day. In the evening, Nick is about to leave the office. The man notices Darcy and stays in the office with her, talking about his life. The next day, Nick goes shopping with his daughter. Her father helps Alex choose a dress for the prom and spends a lot of time near the fitting room. Accidentally hearing that on the night of the party, the girl is going to spend the night with Cameron, Nick falls from a chair. At dinner, he tries to talk to Alex about the night games. However, the girl is angry, believing that Nick is only playing the good father, even though 16 years before, he had no involvement in her life. In the evening, the man is sad in front of the TV when he receives a phone call from Darcy. Nick invites the woman to celebrate a great idea for Nike at a jazz bar. During the date, Darcy talks to the man and sincerely tells him about her worries about her job and her relationship with her ex-husband. Nick is genuinely interested in the woman's words and wants to understand her and help her to cope with difficulties. Darcy kisses him, and he reciprocates her kiss. Nick walks the woman to a taxi. Darcy is amazed that Nick understands her half a word and seems to read her mind. The woman thinks about asking Nick to go to her house. However, the man doesn't take advantage of her weakness, but wishes Darcy good night. Nick comes home and sees Lola at the door. The girl is nervous because Nick spent the night with her and then didn't call for several days. Lola finds it suspicious that Nick understands women so well, thinks and speaks like women. The girl assumes that Nick is actually of a non-traditional orientation. The man confirms this version to reassure Lola. The next day at the office, he wants to refuse to present a Nike advert as it was actually created by Darcy. Nick also learns that Erin wanted to write texts. However, she was relegated to a lowly position. It is because of this that the girl is constantly depressed. Nick presents the advert and realizes that it has a strong hold on women. He decides to write a letter to admit to Darcy that he essentially stole her idea for the Nike advert. However, at that moment, the woman herself appears in the office with a drink. Darcy wants to celebrate the success and doesn't understand why Nick is sad. The woman invites Nick to her house and dances with him. The next day, Dan calls the man and tells him that he has fired Darcy. Nick tries to convince his boss to take her back. The character admits that he just stole Darcy's idea. Going downstairs, Nick notices that Erin is nowhere to be found. The man realizes that the girl is going to take her own life and rushes to help her. On the way, Nick gets caught in the rain and electric sparks fly at him. He gets to Erin's flat just in time. Talking to the girl, Nick realizes that he has lost his ability to read minds. The man supports a crying Erin and offers her a position as a text writer. Nick goes to Darcy and tries to talk to her but gets no answer. Nick remembers Alex's graduation and goes there. Nick learns that his daughter has been sitting in the toilet for an hour. Alex cries that she gave up the idea of sleeping with her boyfriend, because of which he left her. Nick tries to support his daughter. The father takes Alex home and puts her to bed. Nick then goes to see his beloved. He admits that he stole Darcy's idea. However, Nick also reveals that during this time, he has genuinely loved the woman for who she is. Crying, Darcy fires the man, but says she is ready to continue a romantic relationship with him. This is the end of the movie. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Give this video a like. Write in the comments what you think about this movie and see you in new videos.